Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in for this 4 o'clock show. It's been a busy Wednesday afternoon, starting with Laura Afonso at 3 and wrapping up with GoLocal columnist Bob Whitcomb here at 4. Glad that you could come in today. Lots going on nationally and locally. Let's kick off with the latest from Bob Mueller and Rhode Island's own Mike Flynn.
Mike Flynn, yeah, very interesting from the indications of Mr. Mueller's understated rhetoric, in which he was talking about substantial assistance or something like that, and the fact that General Flynn was apparently participating in working with Mueller investigation fairly early on. He was one of the first people to get into trouble, get indicted, and now one of the first people to be cooperating. So this is going to be very interesting because he did have encounters with the Russians, as we know, in 2016. I think going into January of 2017 as a pretty distinguished military guy. He may be taking a different approach to this than Roger Stone. I mean,
we have seen that.
A little more dignity.
The comparisons
a little more integrity.
To Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort.
All of whom are happened in the past, and cooperating fully and Roger Stone is one of the most distinguished sleazes in the history of Manhattan.
But were you surprised when you saw that from Mueller that he said, likely no jail time, because he's even if he sang?
A little bit. I thought maybe a little jail time, a couple of weeks. A Viking hotel.
Speaking of D.C. politics, obviously this week the funeral of former President George H.W. Bush. Let's talk about the legacy of the president and sort of how you think he's going to be remembered in history.
I think it's a slightly tough question. I think he was a very capable president. I think he was generally an honest president. He was a good administrator. He did some good domestic stuff, the Clean Air Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, even though that's been a very expensive operation. As a foreign policy president, very effective, no doubt about it. A great foreign policy president, presiding over the end of the Cold War and kicking Saddam out of Iraq, but without getting entangled in Iraq. I think he could have done a little more there to protect the Shia people who were being killed in large numbers around that time by Saddam. And politically, much more of a mixed bag. He was a ruthless politician. Everyone's forgotten about that. When he moved to Texas after being bankrolled by his rich family, went into the oil business. Quickly on, he developed political ambitions, and he changed a lot of the positions that had been held by his family about civil rights, eventually about abortion. He basically did 180s on a lot of these things, and I think it was pretty unseemly because I don't think it was sincere. Likewise with economics, voodoo economics, the supply side economics are promoted by the people around Reagan, which turned out to be bad economics, and then had to be fixed by the Deficit Reduction Act of 1990, which made the loss, of course, push the next election because a lot of right-wing Republicans were angry at it.
Not too happy.
The race and his role running as a national Republican leader, quite ruthless, quite Nixonian. The 1988 election campaign was notably ruthless, where he played the race card very enthusiastically. I don't think personally he was a racist at all, but ambition trumped a lot of ethics along the way. You're too young to remember the Willie Horton case, vicious ad hominem attacks on poor little Michael Dukakis. He's probably too nice a guy, maybe too small a guy to be president. But as soon as he got elected president, having achieved this, awe-inspiring ambition, despite all the sleaze that he'd been involved in, going back to the mid and late '60s, working for Nixon and so on, he would turn out to be a very good president. So it's a mixed bag, very much so. Look at him as a campaigner; he wasn't very impressive from a principle standpoint. As a president, he was quite principled and quite realistic and quite successful.
What did you think of former Senator Bob Dole getting stood up to?
Yeah, it was sort of touching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Dole.
Former rivals.
I mean, former rivals, but they were, by current Republican standards, they were moderates, and they all knew how to, Bush and the long lamented Howard Baker and Dole. So they knew how to do a deal. They cut a deal. Even Reagan knew how to cut a deal. Reagan would have a couple of pops with Tip O'Neill, and they'd get stuff done.
They were all friends after 5
They
o'clock.
weren't fanatics. They weren't fanatics. They were practical. And so we have to pay tribute to Bush. Had physical courage as a fighter pilot. And in his personal, not political life, personal life, very nice guy. Wrote a lot of nice thank you notes. And I never met him, but I know a lot of people who knew him, some quite well. And he was a delightful character.
Heard he had quite the sense of humor, too.
Yeah. At least feigned ability.
Let's get a little more local here, Bob. Earlier this week, the faculty union at the Community College of Rhode Island overwhelmingly voted no confidence in the current administration. Now, on one side, you have the faculty, the ones voting no confidence, fired up.
Faculties are always outraged, as you know.
Outraged over the administration. Yeah. I think the proliferation of administrative jobs.
Too many administrators. True in the private colleges too. Yeah.
The proliferation of the administration, the way the rollout of Rhode Island Promise has been. There were some comments from a current professor about students, being in classes they shouldn't be in, being forced in positions that you in.
Winter session.
The very
12-day winter session.
The very embattled J term. Because here's what had happened. The administration had asked the faculty, you've got various courses. How long do you need? Do you need X number of weeks, X number, or can it be done during the J term? And apparently a top-level administrator kind of changed the paperwork once it was in to say, of course you can do everything during the J term.
Quantum mechanics in 15 minutes.
And then on the flip side, you have the administration saying that they've been making great gains, basically pointing to the faculty as being, I'm sure, obstructionist, if you will. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think, as I said, faculties everywhere are intrinsically grumpy. But I think there are a couple of things that they've done without proper consultation. I think I think are just wrong. The 12-day winter session, I don't think that's going to work out. Some of this is just communication skills. I've not met the president there, so I'm not really knowledgeable enough to speak to that. But it's to a large extent, I suspect this is just not going around and talking to enough of the faculty, and they all want to be. If not worshipped, at least deeply respected. You've got to do it all the time, just walk and talk with faculty. And remember, most of the faculty have pretty secure jobs, so they can say whatever they want. They aren't worried about being fired, as the rest of us would be, in a private company. So I think she's probably she needs some communication lessons. I think the president of Dooley, of URI, for example, has good communication skills. So maybe she should consult with him.
So we'll see what happens. Again, that vote was taken this week.
Yeah.
The administration responded.
Votes of no confidence are a dime a dozen in American academia.
They called for resignation or stepping of aside. The administration said we're going to continue along the course. So we'll see what happens.
No Islamic justice for her, anything like that.
We'll see what happens as he's here.
Law.
Moving forward, I see you've got your crib notes of things going on in the national and local spheres.
Yeah, let me see what do we have here. I talk a little bit about in France. There's been great rioting, more than since '68. There was some rioting when we lived there too, but this is pretty dramatic. And I think the big it's about fuel prices. The fuel prices they want to jack up with taxes as a move against global warming. The trouble is they're doing it the wrong way. I think carbon taxes like this are a great idea. They're practical. They're relatively easy to impose. But then you've got to tell the public you're going to rebate it to them. They didn't do that. Big mistake. There's some other issues that came into about job security, retirement ages, pensions, and all that stuff, which always get dragged into these French riots. It's interesting. This controversy by the fuel tax has been used both by the extreme right and the extreme left, all brought together under the friendly skies of the internet.
Speaking of rioting in France, I think Josh maybe brought it up at least a half a dozen times this week. It was the results from the most recent assessments here in Rhode Island, the RICAs, the Rhode Island comprehensive assistance system to
I
mirror
wanted to say something.
Massachusetts, and he had mentioned a few times, why aren't people taking to the streets with pitchforks and being outraged over the results here, again, being substantially lower than that of Mass?
One possible explanation is Rhode Islanders are not as interested, they should be in education. The other thing, I think most people see this as Rhode Island's poorer, just socioeconomically poorer. Now, when you compare the rich districts in this state did worse than the rich districts in Massachusetts.
Yes, and the Barringtons
So
were along the same line as Fall River.
There's sort of a general climate of low expectations in education around here. That has to be changed. I think clearly for the long run, as much as possible, we should adhere, Rhode Island should adhere to Massachusetts standards of these things and just gradually work on it. And this, you need a bully pulpit. I give the governor some credit. She's, I think, pushed the public education problem or issue around here probably harder than any governor that I can remember.
But at the K-12 level, I mean, there's twofold. There's a big focus from this administration on early education,
Right.
which of course you don't see for years
for a long
down.
time.
And also at the higher ed level, it'll be interesting to see if she makes the proposal in this budget cycle to try to expand the Rhode Island Promise program as she promised,
Right.
from both CCRI to the four-year institutions.
These are multi-year issues. I remember fixing the education of Massachusetts began under Bill Weld. Took a long time, and then by 2000, 2003, the test scores were way up. It's very, very difficult. The other problem around here, I don't know how you measure this, is the rich people around here in Rhode Island. This is true in Massachusetts too, but more than here, they put their kids in private schools, private day schools or boarding schools, and then they don't care that much about public education. In Massachusetts, this is the tradition of well-off people having their kids in public schools, especially in the suburbs, the rich suburbs, has never been broken. Newton, Wellesley, I mean, Brookline and Newton used to be considered having the best public schools in the United States.
Just feeder systems right to Harvard.
Yeah, right. That's right. It used to be. And I think that kind of, whatever you'd call that, cultural difference between Rhode Island and Massachusetts is important. The other thing is kind of the old, Rhode Island is taking an awful long time to get away from this sort of depressed mill culture. It's really, so there are no mills, so where's the culture, So, and, if I had my druthers, I would just get rid of the state, merge it with Massachusetts, get it over with. I've been saying this, as you know, for 30 years.
Would we just go to Mass, or would you split it and put part to connect, like the hospital system? Because it's essentially a microcosm of the hospital system.
Right, yeah. No, I just, the whole state.
Okay, so what else are we talking about?
Okay, the other thing is a suggestion. The Route 195 thing, 195 relocations, the Fane Tower and all that stuff should be totally under control. Doesn't the state own that land?
It is state land.
So the city should have no role in it. There are too many layers around here. It's too easy to stop anything from being done, whether it's the Fane Tower or anything else. And I think that's state-owned land. The state should have the final say, period.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Fane Tower, they want to put a sculpture garden.
It could very well happen because it now rests with this variance in the city council to see if a veto override does occur. But if not, you've got Dominic Ruggiero just sitting in the wings.
Well, I think the governor is pushing it
ready to
quietly, and it's somewhat with a little bit of rhetorical ambiguity. I think the governor would be distressed if Mr. Fane went away at this point.
Well, we'll see what happens moving forward, and we'll read about your article on GoLocal.
I've got this luxury condo at the top of the Fane.
You have not secured a luxury condo.
That's right, I already have.
Well, Bob Whitcomb, as always, appreciate your taking the time to come down here to the studio. And we're going to wrap up here. And we're going to be back tomorrow with Chelsea Gay at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. So we look forward to seeing you. Be sure to check out GoLocalProv.com over the night and GoLocalProv on Facebook. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.